Hey guys, here, Gino. Welcome to the 5th week of the F1 Championships highlights actually, and this week was a horrible week for myself, and I'll explain that during this video. But yesterday for GP2 highlights, a lot of you guys were frustrated that I posted a shorter version of that, and a lot of you guys are expecting to see a longer one just like this. So that's what I'm going to try to do, because of course editing two different series on the same week and having to chase footage down for GP2 and having to edit it at the same time, and having to keep a schedule of one upload a day, and having to save time to practice for the upcoming Grand Prix is extremely draining and exhausting and difficult. But the pit windows for this particular race was lap 12 and 16 and 22 and 26, with 2 mandatory pit stops for 20 seconds as usual, with 33 laps in total, with average lap time being 1 minute 35. Surprisingly, with the lack of practice that I had in coming into this particular Grand Prix, I qualified in second place behind Neo Dark, as expected to be in pole, and surprisingly he was managing to get 134s, interesting, out of all the people. So, yeah, definitely a lot of practice gone into this by a lot of other people. As you can see, New Dark being one of them. And, of course, he aims to start in pole position, as, of course, we've seen he struggles starting at the back of the pack with the amazing racecraft. Now, here's the thing, though. With 33 laps coming into this, with only 20 laps of practice, not preparing myself for an hour-long endurance race, it was extremely, I guess, a tough experience for me, due to the fact that before this, about 4 days straight, 5 days straight throughout the week, I was doing cut and corners with a Zentorno, experimenting with that car, pushing the limits, completely disregarded this event. And then coming into this, about on the same day, I slept at 11 AM, grinding throughout the night with 24-hour streams before that, a couple of 24-hour streams before that as well, with Zentorno and cutting corners. Slept at 11 AM on Friday, woke up at 5 PM and got straight onto the game, having to go and join the practice run with the Turismo. The Turismo felt so weird. Of course, both completely different driving styles with the Zentorno and Turismo, right? The Turismo felt extremely loose, and I was not in sync with the car. Now, this was a safety car lap, by the way, because Marion at the start, before the hairpin was fine with everyone, but the straight before the hairpin, Ryan went flying off due to lag. I think Nismo or someone lagged him into the river, so safety car was called out. I actually had to make a judgment through the microphone, screaming. Ryan actually, he screamed down the mic, so I had to then sort of make a call. All right, shit, let's just call a safety car, because I wasn't sure. There was no race steward, nothing about it. So I had to focus on so many different things, lack of sleep, right? Coming into this race, the race set off right after the safety car lap. Neo Dark made a call of just going off right after the final corner. And here we are, have to grind out this track now. Now, of course, at this point, I was, 16 points ahead of the Drivers' Championships, with second place and third. Second place being Neo, Picano being tied with him 58 points. Now, all I had to do, right, is finish top 3, and I had to keep myself alive in the championships with a few points ahead. But that didn't really go through my mind at the time. It was one of those things where nothing really was set in my head. I don't know what was going through my head at this point. My map was turned off. I was supposed to turn that on because I completely forgot about the pit stop. I came into this pretty much, with no sort of, just completely forgetting about everything, basically. That was my point. I've completely forgot about what was expected. So hopefully I can prepare myself for the next race, because what you're about to see right now is one of the biggest fails of a 1 hour long endurance race that I've gone through, right? And this was all due to part of the track that was not supposed to be there in the first place, but it was a bit too late with the communication information provided to the track creator himself, JVD, who, by the time GP2 hit and everyone was taking these lines for qualifiers, it was a bit too late to change the track. So there's a bump line that you saw from the first lap where the pit stop is, with the tire line, right? Realistically, if that line was not there, that should not be taken anyway, and that's not a logical line to take, right? Because of GTA 5 and what this line does with the bumps, it triggers your revs to go so high with the suspensions, and you get insane speeds throughout the straight. But at this point, I knew I fucked up, At bottom left corner, Jerka disconnected. I looked down for a split second at the wrong time, looked back up, but reacted late to the nose of the car, and I went smashed straight into the tire stack and made myself lose pretty much my second position qualifying, dropped all the way down to 10th position into lap 3. So yeah, that was basically the story of my race there. As you can see, let's watch that again. That bump, Jerka disconnects just before the line. I look down, look up, it's too late. But realistically, right, that line goes against the rules of the event itself, right? But that's no excuse. No one else hit that. Why should I be able to hit that, right? Like, this totally caught me off guard. Like, of course, tire stack's one thing that can completely ruin your race. one of which happened to me. And honestly, it's just one of those things. Now I got to deal with the fact that I'm in, what, 10th place, you know, and Neo Dark's in the lead. If he was to win at this position, he would be pretty much in the lead of the Drivers' Championships by quite a bit of points. So I at least had to fight back some positions. You can see right now Neo Dark's comfortably pulling away JVD in second, and Defiance Wires gets a position against Picano there on the inside of the final corner. Shawnell just behind with Yuchia, and then Nema, Ryan, and myself, and everyone else following through from the rest of the pack, with the slight few group splits in the back of the group, as always expected from that. So I'm now right behind Ryan in 9th place. So I'm in 9th place, sorry. We're going into lap 6. So the problem is with the current position that I'm in, stuck behind Ryan, I knew he was off the pace, but it's extremely difficult to overtake on this track, provided that depending on, you know, the person's racecraft ahead of you. And it had to be Ryan. It's difficult to pass Ryan when he's in defensive mode. Like, he will completely slow the pace down and do whatever it takes to park you on the apex, or just pretty much preventing you from passing him, right? No matter what I could try, coming into this race extremely tired, not preparing myself an hour-long endurance race, it was near enough impossible for me to pass him unless I get some runs going for each lap, after each lap, you know. So basically this was sort of my practice run, right? Essentially, like, there was no time for me to actually come into this race being fully prepared like some of these other guys were. Regardless, I was still able to apply pressure against Ryan at this point early on. And of course, look how ridiculous this line is. Like, you're getting some insane speeds through that. But at the same time, it kind of negates the points, because you guys will see when sort of halfway through the race, I was about to have an overtake against Ryan. But because he went on that line, then he just sort of cancelled out his lack of speed and just instantly gained speed. So I guess the whole race just didn't make sense to me. Just the way it was, I guess, designed in a sense. But I wouldn't blame JVD. I wouldn't blame anyone that made this design. It's just the fact that it was a bit too late. By the time people came about practicing, no one really sent across information. Even myself, I didn't bother sending information across to him, and even knowing about the line in the first place. It just didn't really bother me at first. But then coming into the realization from the actual event itself, you could see how many things actually went wrong from just looking at the smoothness and experience from this F1 point of view for what we're trying to bring anyway. So see, I'm still applying pressure there. Just behind us was El Mister, and you see someone just actually, I think that's K-Dog that fell off the cliff. So El Mister must have pushed him wide there a little bit while K-Dog's trying to hold the outside. So there's a huge delay there, whilst El Mister having to wait for him to give the position back due to the invalid move. By the time between 9th and 10th, between myself and 10th, the gap increased. Here we are, Picano having a battle with Shawnell. It seemed like Defiance Wire had made a mistake. You can see that he wasn't third at one point and had dropped back now 4 or 5 positions, whilst me and Ryan are still going at it there. Ryan is pretty much off the pace by quite a bit, by a whole second at least. He was holding me back. So I know I still had a possibility of coming back into the race and pretty much gathering about 5 positions if I had to keep up my pace from qualifiers. But unfortunately, I could not do that. Every time I was, you know, coming back, you know, with my pace, Ryan would be there just preventing me from overtaking. And also my pit strategies were appalling as well. Completely forgot about that. I wasn't even prepared for the pit stops, you know, that's one thing. The thing about the pit stop on this track was extremely tight with a high speed approach. So you have to get your braking point right, otherwise you can lose a lot of time when approaching that. So at the same time, because I had, you know, more pace than Ryan right in front of me, he was about a second slower, I could have just entered the pits early, and then I could have passed him by the time I got around to him when he went into the pits afterwards, if I were to up my pace throughout the way I was doing it through qualifiers. And from this point here, he actually did a really good cutback, which I should have parked on the apex, but instead I allowed him to do the move and make the move, so keep this, I guess, the flow going to keep up with the rest of the pack, which was a sort of a thing that was going from ahead, because I saw Defiance right ahead of us, right? So perhaps I can grab 2 positions if I keep the momentum going and somehow hopefully pass Ryan. But even in this case, you know, when the pit windows did open between lap 12, I didn't think that way, you know. After the race, I was like, you know, asking myself, why did I not go into the pits early? You know, that's still a question that I don't have answered. Like, it's one of those things where it's at the time, here at the moment, you just want to keep applying pressure, but at the same time, it's no real point, because if someone like Ryan's going to keep parking on apex or just doing whatever he can to not make you pass, the best way to only pass is to go through the pits and then outpace the person by the time you come around through the few laps given of the pit windows. So yeah, I failed numerous times actually. You'll see there was a few points I actually wanted to go into the pits early, in fact, but I completely misjudged the entrance. So there was one of the pits I actually braked a completely misjudged braking point, and I went past the entrance of the pit, so I ended up losing time against Ryan in front of me, so he peeled away. And then there was another entrance, I think was the second pit window, where I ended up hitting the tire stack on the entrance because I was carrying way too much speed. So positions at the moment, Neo Dark comfortably in the lead by 5 seconds ahead of second place JVD, in the third place Picano, and of Shawnell in fourth, Yuchia in fifth, having a battle with Nema in sixth, Defiance Wise in seventh after making a mistake from third position, Ryan in eighth, and myself in ninth, and Elmister in 10th. So coming into this position unexpectedly, well then again I should have expected it with lack of practice, then again, you know, it's one of those things, man. Having to follow Ryan here, unfortunately, with a mistake he made there, hitting the exit barriers, and then of course with me colliding into him and he rebounded back, it was extremely frustrating, just pretty much getting blocked every single time by the person in front. But I wasn't frustrated to the fact that, you know, where it's like, alright, you know, I put myself in this position. That's the thing, I put myself due to my own mistake, so I should not be blaming anyone else but myself. That's exactly what I'm doing. Like every time I just look at this line, I say to myself, wow, I just got a facepalm every time, because that makes no sense, you know. Like, it's right next to the exit of the pit, and there's bound to be collisions which did occur, and everyone's sort of forcing themselves off a particular line that they're holding in order to gain that extra advantage through the boost. So all in all, everyone was breaking the rules, you know, everyone was going against the whole point of this series and this event. But then again, like I said, it's down to the creator for blocking that. At the same time, it's down to the players for actually abiding by the rules and following. But then again, it was also told before the race that everyone was allowed to take the line. But it's one of those things, man. You know, it's just unfortunate, you know, like, because it's Yuchi and Nema going at it with a battle. Defiance there creeping up. I myself getting held back by Ryan with his extremely slow pace. I should have made a pass at several points. I could have easily made a pass, but I just did not have the concentration, the focus to make a pass that I would have done easily in a practice session. You know, when it came to the actual event, my mindset was still with cutting corners, with the Zentorno, having to drag that car around second to third corner, having to brake and slide at the same time, which, you know, it's a bit different to the Turismo, mate. Turismo is more nimble, and it wants to turn much more to small movements of the analog stick. So when your thumbs try to synchronize with the car, your hand-eye coordination completely goes off. But hey, that's what you get, man. That's what you get. 4 days straight cutting corners. Unfortunately, even this was actually extremely bad week. Think about it. I choked the 49-second lap time in cutting corners. And coming into this event, qualifying second, could have easily held some points for Drivers' Championship and completely going down to 9th place from this race going into lap 11, 1 lap away from the first pit window. Neo Dark is peeling away with his car there against second place JVD, holding that comfortably. And now you see Shawnell has managed to grab third position against Picano, so position changes there throughout this lap. And Nema also gained a position against Yuchia. Interesting stuff, while Defiance is keeping up to Yuchia. So Yuchia is actually peeling away, whilst Ryan, once again, is holding me back with any sort of position gain. So as you can see, 10th place there is Elmister, pretty much having a lonely race at the moment after passing K-Dog legitimately. Here is one of the frustrating things, obviously having to keep up with someone, you got to follow the lines. Here, I think I made a move. I'm not too sure. We'll see how it goes. So, oh, never mind. I managed to give him the inside there. You know, I tried to be as respectful as possible. Because at the end of the day, I know there was some aggressive bits coming from Ryan. There's certain moves. I look back at the footage, I'm like, wow. You know, when you make a pass or when you make a move, you know, you have to make sure you don't touch the other car. You know, you bump and grind a little bit, yeah, I guess. But I made a mistake there, as you saw. I made a mistake from having to counter him. Hit the apex barrier. So at this point, you know, it was shambles, you know. Like, things were going downhill. It was getting worse and worse. There was a couple of times I could have easily held 8th position and then applied pressure to 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, you know. But at this point, the 12 seconds in, I mean, not 12 laps in, the first pit window's opening up. I was pretty much 9 seconds behind 7th place. So I just had to focus on getting 8th place, you know, at least gain 2 extra points. Because if I was to finish in 9th place, I would have only gained 2 points. And if obviously from how it stands, Neo Dark's going to win the race. He's going to get 25 points. So he's going to win 83 points. Whereas if I was to get 2 points from the way it's standard, I would only be on 76 points. So I would be 7 points behind in second place in Drivers' Championships. So I basically threw away a 16-point lead in this race right now. So I basically just made it interesting, you know, because if I finish second, yeah, I would be a few points ahead of Neo from him finishing, you know, first place. But still, right now, it's like, all right, I've given him the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Let's see what happens for the last 4 Grand Prix that are about to come up for Banham, Vinewood Hills, and the City track along with the Mirror Park track. So it's going to be definitely interesting, man. You know. So here's the first pit window cam coming in from Danny. See quite a few guys going into pits there early. Nema, Uchiha, and Shawnell, I believe. And if during this point here, skipping a lap ahead into, I believe, lap 13. Yeah, into lap 13 now, going into lap 14, I believe. So that's JVD going past after, so Picana going past after JVD going past there. The shot sort of slightly skipped as he had to re-record with the share play, as he records every 15-minute segments. Here's everyone else coming through with Ryan and myself going into lap 14. That's right. So 2 more laps left. I should have pitted at that point. I should have pitted at this point because I knew I was going to keep up, and which I was. I was able to catch up to Ryan in a few laps. But that information was not going from my head. Even someone down the microphone, I think it was Shawnell, with his drowsy voice, was saying, you know, you should go to pit now, mate. But I didn't really understand that. Like, I didn't understand the sort of my approach to this race. I was completely off. You know, from what you're watching now, it was a very bad performance. But there's always expected to have a very poor performance when it's when you sleep at 11 a.m. in the morning and you wake up just right before the event. It's bound to happen. So hopefully I don't make the same mistake when it comes to the next Grand Prix for Banham, which is going to be a 2-minute 27-second circuit, right? And that's going to be interesting. You know, that it's going to be definitely a tough race. It's an extremely long race as well, and testing endurance for an hour straight on that is going to be exciting. So still within the first pit window here, I believe we're going into lap 15, and here Ryan once again is right ahead of me. You know, near enough bumper to bumper. We are approaching half an hour mark of the race, near enough halfway through. Still nothing logical is going from my head apart from the back of my mind that I want to stay close to him and try to get 8th position. I'm still in 9th position, him in 8th, because you guys of course have gone into the pit stops. And the reason why I'm showing this entire footage, so you get a sort of an understanding of how I went through each lap. And you know, there's certain things that were really putting me off with this point of view anyway. I honestly, you know, thinking about it now, and I'm like, shit, why didn't you go into the pits, man? Look at this. Near enough, just every time just getting put off by defensive strives. It's extremely frustrating. But here we are going into the final lap. You guys will say once again, I think I do screw up here. Let's see. Yep, look at that. That's right there. I tried to go into the pits, completely screwed up the braking point. Then I had to, you know, sort of recover that speed. I was just behind Ryan. Then going into lap 16. He sort of peeled away again. So, yo, absolute shambles, man. So many mistakes. You guys will see further more mistakes during the race as well. But here we are, going into the pits now. This is the approach that I should have had. Lightbulb nearly takes me out as well. That would have been perfect. But I just nailed it. Everyone else from the top of the pack going into pits. Neo's already finished this pit from lap 16. So he's that far ahead. I think it's about 30 seconds ahead of the second place. And I'm showing this entire pit process, by the way. So my car stops around 48, I believe. I'm not sure. Let's see. Can't remember. So 44 or 48. And yeah, it was 38. 38 seconds. Yeah, 38 seconds my car stops. 20 seconds I exit at 58 seconds. So this is just us about sounds, right? You know, Ryan had that lead before I made that. Well, after I made that mistake in the entry of the previous lap of the pit. Here's Neo Dark going at it into lap 17. And there's JVD in second place. The gap between him and Neo is about 20 seconds. And there's Picano in 3rd place, comfortably in 3rd place, whilst Nema now in 4th place, you know, ahead of Shawnell and Defiance. So that's definitely interesting. Uchiha has also peeled off slightly from Defiance. So slightly few position changes there, as you can see from previous few laps. And then Ryan is peeling away from myself. Well, I'm actually closing him out. And there is Nismo, who retired from the race and was being the steward. Now, positions as they stand, Nema's doing a really good race actually, because he was fighting back from, I believe, 6th place. He gained 2 positions. 7th place. He gained 2 positions against Uchiha and Defiance. And Shawnell. Sorry. So he's having a really consistent race right now, and he's in 4th, and he ends really well and really strong as well in the position. He's trying to fight for podium at the same time defending against Shawnell. Uchiha there makes a mistake on the exit barrier and spectator stands. So me and Ryan are trying to keep up, whilst I'm trying to apply pressure against Ryan. I see that Uchiha's teammate Ryan are together now, team variables, in 8th and 7th place. So going in here with a very stupid line there, and was this lap, I believe lap 18. So yeah, just above the halfway mark. You can see Neo's once again pulling away, and it's a huge gap now, you know, between him and 2nd. Something must have happened to JV, because 3rd place is closing him out, which Picano. This is a beautiful shot by our boy. I sat there, I was like, yo, this is mad. So anyway, Nema's there getting applied pressure by Shawnell. Shawnell managed to grab the inside overtake, so Shawnell now grabs 3rd position. That's a beautiful shot right there of the intense overtake. And here's Uchiha, Ryan, and myself going at it. And it's looking really tense right now for the sort of between 4th, 5th, and 6th. Or 7th is keeping up as well. Now look at the distance, man. Holy shit. This is another nice shot of the hairpin from Danny aka Danny Boy. 3rd place, Picano coming through. You know, here's Shawnell grabbing his 4th place. Nema's in 5th, and Defiance Wise in 6th. And then there's a huge gap between 6th and 7th for Uchiha in 7th. His teammate Ryan in 8th. And I'm closing the gap between himself and myself in 9th place. 10th place, really far back, who's El Mister. So here we are. Now, I wasn't even thinking about the 2nd pit window at this point. Once again, 2nd pit window went horribly wrong as well. Pretty much whatever that could go wrong in this race did actually go wrong. And it's always just lack of concentration, man, really. That's all it is. Like, it's one of those things, man. It's one of those things. This track is all about not making mistakes, and I pretty much made mistakes, you know. It's a fast-flowing track. And judging by the positions up front, this was crazy. The race actually was pretty crazy for the top 5 here. So there's Shawnell in 3rd. Nema's in 4th, right? Sorry, Shawnell was in 4th. What am I talking about? Completely disregarding the top 3 there. So Shawnell was in 4th and Nema's in 5th, right? And Defiance in 6th, and I'm still closing the gap up now against 8th place, back to where it was. And here you'll see his 1st place goes ahead is Neo, and just behind him is well, not just behind, quite a bit behind, is JVD, comfortably, consistently in 2nd place there. You know, and Picano in 3rd, Shawnell in 4th, Nema in 5th, Defiance in 6th, and I'm still going at it with Ryan on the top left, coming through the shot right here. And oh sorry, that's Uchiha. Forgot about him. Here's me and Ryan going at it bumper to bumper. And what's interesting is that this battle, right? This battle was still going on after 40 minutes, man. 40 minutes into the race, me and Ryan are still going at it. You know, battle between 8th and 9th, and there was an immense battle, right? You'll see between 4th, 5th, and 6th throughout the race as well. 3rd place surprising as well. You guys will see Picano makes an insane mistake from 3rd place with that gap. I don't know how, but he ends up losing a position. Now I'm making some aggressive moves, trying to park it on the apex on the hairpin. Managed to grab the overtake, but at the same time, I gave Ryan some space. I could have easily closed him out, but I didn't want to do that. Keep the momentum going. This time I can grab the inside because of consecutive corner after the hairpin to gain the position. So I finally got an overtake against Ryan. But it's not over, man. It is not over. You know, I think this is lap 19. And here we are coming through the uphill section. And I see Uchiha ahead of me, but Ryan's still bumper to bumper with me, trying to apply pressure on the inside. Can he do it? Nope. I close him out again. I nearly went off there. Holy shit. But the application of pressure right now against Ryan is insane. Bumper to bumper with me right now. Yeah, 40 minutes into the race. Still going. It is still going. You know, I thought I could peel away from this point, but it was a little too late. But then again, it wasn't, because Yuichia was still ahead of me. So I guess it still wasn't too late. You know, I could have kept going, but my momentum to actually find my pace again was lost. And that was the downside. You know, Yuichia now found his momentum again at this point. I'm still having to hold my position against Ryan, but Ryan ends up making a mistake. Holy shit. So I've got a little bit of breathing space now. All right, sweet. Finally. Okay, I've peeled away from Ryan. But wait a minute, it's not over yet. It's not over. It's quite far behind, like 7 car lengths or something into lap 21. The lap after this, right, it's going to be the pit stop between lap 22 and 26. Here's, who the hell is that? So you see, here's a little shot of Neo going by, and then JVD there in second place in the start-finish straight. And here's the third place Picano. He has seemed to have made a mistake, which meant that Shawnell was able to catch up there. In fourth and fifth is Nema just behind Shawnell, and sixth place Defiance comfortably there also. And then seventh place, here comes Yuichia along with myself just behind him in eighth place. I'm like, all right, sure, I got a glimpse. I got a glimpse for seventh place here. Let's not get the hopes up too much here, because we've got 10 more laps to go. Lap 23 out of 33. And then going into 24 out of 33, because I didn't go into the pits yet. No one's gone to the pits yet from the top 8. Now, here's Yuichia that makes a pit, but he actually ends up crashing into the tire stack, which meant that if I was to go into the pits on lap 25, I would be able to exit out pretty, I guess, pretty close to Yuichia by the time we meet up. But no, I make a mistake on lap 25. I make a horrible mistake, which cancels out his mistake from his entrance of the pit stop. Here's another shot of lap where people are yet to still go into their pits. Wait a minute, Picano actually does end up making a mistake during this process of the second pit window, which meant that Nema was able to grab third position, you know, whilst Shawnell was in the pits. So that's interesting. It's definitely interesting. By the way, Ryan has actually also caught up to me due to that mistake. So his mistake also will cancel out due to my mistake. So the gap pretty much went back to square one. So realistically, I'm still having a battle for 8th, whilst I still have my 8th position. But my plan was to still go into the pits on this lap. You know, it's the second pit window. It's the mandatory pits. So let's go through the approach again. Oh my lord, I cut him way too tight. Hit the tire stack. Nearly got slingshotted by Ryan there with that stupid line. But yeah, I sort of repeated the same mistake as Yuichia from the previous lap. At the same time, I made the other mistake coming up the hill. So that meant that Yuichia pretty much has the upper hand again with the gap. So here you'll see. He'll go past right after I finish the second pit. So that's El Mister there going by. He still needs to hit his pit stop. And that's Ryan. Sorry, that's Yuichia that's there. And look at the gap. He's pretty much increased it from this point. So Ryan still needs to hit the pit stop at lap 26 along with El Mister. That's the two people out of the top 10 that still haven't pitted on the last mandatory pit stop between lap 22 and 26. So I'm going into lap 26 now. And at this point, I've lost all motivation. And a few more laps to go. And Yuichia's pulled away. I know for a fact that no matter how hard I pushed, all I'm going to do is make mistakes. So, oof. And then now, on the exit of Ryan's pit on lap 26, I take him out. I take him out. Completely did not realize that he was in the pits at this point. And of course, taking that line is bound to happen. So, you pretty much have seen everything from my point of view as exactly what could go wrong. You know, when you play without the map and, you know, whatever, like, it's just, wow. Technically, I was still in the lead, but gave him the position anyway. As the last few laps, you know, I still need to fight for the 2 points. I still need to grab 8th position. Of course, making a stupid mistake like that. We both weren't going anywhere from our positions, so we might as well just have a bloody battle throughout the remaining laps of the race to keep the viewers interested. At the same time, just a little bit of nice little, I guess, a race from just us two, because taking my mind off the actual championship itself, because that was frustrating from when everything first started going downhill to this point. two appalling pit strategies, you know, silly mistakes. I usually frown upon my own mistakes when they do occur, but we're all humans, right? And humans are supposed to make mistakes, unless of course he put hundreds of hours of practice into one particular track and he determined to do extremely well. And of course practice makes perfect, right? And it has certainly shown for those who were dominant on this particular race. So anyway, here we are going to the last few set of laps. Haven't really shown any shots, but from the way it stands right now, from the positions, Nema is in 3rd place. Did really well. It's doing really well throughout the race. So he's got the podium spot locked down from his disappointment of the last race. Remember that lamppost took him out, and you know, Neo grabbed that 3rd spot instead. And so yeah, things are, I don't know, man. I could, you know, look back at this race and regret my championships, or I could look back at this race and use it as motivation, go into the other 4 remaining races and do well in them. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how my mental strength is for the next few races. But yeah, Picano, unfortunately, with his comfortable 3rd spot, he lost out a couple positions. Now he's in 5th place. So Shawnell has also taken advantage, because Picano has also made another mistake during this period. So that's unfortunate for Team Fusion, but you know, we of course, both of us had to have a bad race at some point anyway. I personally had a very bad race on the first Grand Prix anyway. So Nema certainly deserves his 3rd spot here in today's race. I tried to go for a cutback move, a dummy move there. Sort of how, you know, hopefully, I guess I was glad that it didn't happen like how it happened in Monaco Grand Prix with Gujon. His rear completely got, well, nearly got fucked by Verstappen. But hey, you know, I do watch F1, blood. That was a mad crash still. You know, I made it sort of a, I guess that's the uphill inside move. How is that even a similar move whatsoever when that's a Monaco fucking tight corner, first right-hander? Hey, I'm chatting on my ass right now, but extremely tiring commentary right now. Holy shit, the practice run is about to begin for GP2 and I'm doing this commentary. What am I doing, man? Oh my lord. But hey, we're coming near the end here. Still trying to apply pressure against Ryan into lap 29. We have, well, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. We still have 5 laps to go, really. So anything can happen at this point. Ryan's got to keep composed. I'm fighting for 2 points for the Drivers' Championship to keep my hopes alive from a horrible start, as guys I've told you this many times. In this position that I am, you know, I just got to accept the fact that, yo, you know, you put yourself here, just be patient and just fight for the glory, fight for what's remaining on the points. You see the guy in front of you, there's no need to make mistakes right now. Just take it easy, right? Just stay composed. That's all you got to do. You know, ease off the gas whenever he's approaching the corner. Just number one priority is to not hit the other person in front. Don't hit him. Just, oh, wait a minute. He tried to shift lines there. Man, several times during this race, Ryan's made some, you know, some fluky, some weird moves here for defending. But hey, I'll give it to him. You know, I'm not really fussed or frustrated with the person ahead. You know, he's got all rights to do what he has to do to strategize for the Drivers' Championship for his teammate. And keep myself back here as much as possible. So it's all good, good driving, good strategy, good racecraft, or whatever you want to call it. And we're about to go into lap 30. Just seeing, sort of showing the intensity of this battle, how it went down. You know, sort of seeing it from this point of view. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get footage from other people that were having the battles ahead or behind us, whatever. Wow, I nearly made the same mistake there with the tire step, but this time I was well on my toes. You know, prepared for that. Yeah, I have to always shift after getting a little bump boost, but hey, does bump boost count as a curb boost? Hey, you know, it's one of those arguments where, you know, if you have to shift a line that you're holding from another person in order to get that boost, it can be extremely controversial. I make a move on the outside, tries to close me out. That was interesting. But hey, I still managed to grab the overtake. You know, a little bit of rough moves there from Ryan trying to close that racing line, although it was near enough impossible for him to do so. And from this point, you know, with lap 30, 4 more laps to go. Shit, man. It's turn around again. I'm in 8th position. Gonna grab those 2 more points. Can we do it? But no, Ryan's got other things going on in his mind. He desperately does not want me to finish 8th place. You know, he really wants to apply that pressure, and good on him for doing so. You know, of course, keeping this race going. You can see right now, Shauna was in 4th, Picano's in 5th, Reneme's in 3rd, Defiance in 6th, but Yuchi is in 7th, about 8 seconds ahead. You know, the rest of the guys were pretty much 30 seconds ahead. Neo was near enough a minute ahead from me at this point. You know, so he's already pretty much lapping the guys from the bottom part. So yeah, completely different contrast to my race and his race. But like I said, practice does pay off, and it certainly did for Neo there. So here we are going into the last set of laps. I didn't want to skip forward any of this or anything like that. As you guys can see, sort of the moves that each of the players were making, the defensive strives and attacking strives. So Ryan and myself, Ryan had a poor exit there from that tight right-hander. That's quite a tricky right-hander because there's a few elevation zones that you have to try and avoid coming into the last corner. It's quite tricky as well. You got to really try and carry as much momentum possible. If you notice that when I'm demotivated, I don't really tend to use my right stick as much. I don't know why. When it comes to the PS4 controller, I find it really annoying with the small thumbs to actually work around with the right sort of the thumbsticks on these sort of controllers. I seem to have. I personally feel like I've done better. My driving's been better on PS3, but I've significantly recently reduced my right stick. You know, I only use it at certain periods, certain times. Not sure why that's the case. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the effort of actually dragging my thumb. Maybe I'm going lazy. I don't know. It's just one of those something like I've done some testing myself. Is to switch off the radar and timer, not even use the right stick, and just stick to the lines. I still got similar lap times to even when I use the right stick with the map and radar. So it's all mentalities, how you see things. There's a theory behind using the right stick improves your consistency of how quick you go. That's always been my theory. I don't know. It depends completely on your perspective and what you're confident with. You know, what you're confident with personally. I know a guy like that. For instance, Lee Carey. He doesn't even use the right stick, and he's extremely quick. So there's a few guys out there that just have their preference in driving style. So not style but styles. I'm extremely partial, man. 36 minutes into the commentary. I'm waiting for an invite from JBD for the next GP2 practice round. Still haven't received it. This battle's still going on during this race. Look at this, Ryan's applying so much pressure, bumper to bumper right now. But I seem to be keeping up that sort of consistency and sort of pace at this point to not allow him to go for any moves. I had to, of course, switch a defensive drive into lap 32 out of 33. In order for this hairpin to not make him pass. It's quite easy to pass on the hairpin if you're not defending properly. So I had to look back every time to see the stance of his car. He's obviously trying to make the inside move. I got the middle line in order to go into the hairpin at the right speed, to apply the right pressure, power, and to actually get a line into the inside defense here and go up this hill into lap 32. Of course, a little bit of fogginess at this point, a little bit of distraction, but still able to keep composed right at this point and see how it goes down right here. So here we go. It's uphill sections. Don't be too distracted by the barriers there because that can completely ruin it. And this one's a little tricky as well. You got to use off the gas at the right time and apply the gas at the right time along with this as well. And you can see Ryan's doing really well to apply the pressure and keep up. I'm just doing my best to hold my line and stick to the inside as much as possible. I got to hold this position right now. These 4 points are crucial in 8th place. He's trying to do a cutback on this, but I still managed to keep momentum flowing through these corners, cutting back on the right-handers tight, and he's still there. Slightly loses it on the little bumpy elevation section on that exit, which meant that I've got the upper hand into this straight, but I do oversteer this slightly, so he's able to close the gap again, going into the last corner, missing the apex completely, which meant that he's able to hit that apex and of course close the gap out again. So now we are near enough, got our car length apart. But of course, the fogginess is kicking in. Can't even see the tyre stack there. And Ryan's got an upper hand against me on this straight with those revs going into the last lap. A lot of pressure is on my shoulders right now to hold this 8th position after fighting all this hard. I was trying to grab it in the first place. Hairpin is important here. Do not give him any easy chance to grab the inside. He's trying to make the move. I'm going to go in the middle line again so he doesn't do any sort of crazy dive bomb. And once again, got a better exit there. Repetition of the previous lap. Just got to hold it here on the inside. And then cut back on the inside here as well. He's obviously going to go for some crazy moves, which I was expecting any second. Now he's going for a non-existent gap there. Boom! He takes me out. Good thing there was no one else behind us. Any given point that could have easily applied pressure, like El Mister, who was still in 10th place, but was way far back with a lonely race. At this point, Neo Dark's already finished in 1st place. So me and Ryan are still going at it, I guess. Him allowing me to recover. Still in 8th place, having to hold it for the last few corners. And so here we are, last lap, final sector. Got a better run down the hill. Oh man, what a race it's been. It's a disappointing race all around, but still got to keep the spirit alive going into the next few Grand Prix, because this championships has turned around. It's once again become a little bit more interesting of how tense it's going to be for the final few rounds as who's going to take the Drivers' Championships. As you guys see, already know, the Constructors' Championships are well ahead for Team Fusion, myself and Meccano, but certainly for the Drivers' Championship it could go anyway for the top 5, top 4, depending on the next few races of the outcome. So yeah, definitely an interesting championship so far. There's been ups and downs and insane misery, as you've seen from my experience. And this was one hell of a fight for 8th place. So props to Ryan for keeping it alive, for making this an interesting race. And yeah, Near Dark with a 134.672, the only 134 on this race, interestingly. And yeah, other than that, you look at Ryan's lap time, 136. He was able to keep me going for 136 throughout most of those laps. It's insane. So there you guys have it, 25 points for Near Dark, JVD 2nd place, Nema 3rd, 4th is Shawnell, 5th is Meccano, 6th was Defiance, 7th place was Yuchia, 8th place was myself. And you can see with the current Drivers' Championships, I am 5 points behind Neo Dark and 83 points. Meccano is 68, JVD's creeping up 56 points, Shawnell on 5th, 45 points, 6th is Nema. And so yeah, everyone else is doing really well, creeping up for near the end of the championships. So halfway now, well, approaching above the halfway mark, and it's going to be interesting. As you can see, Drivers' Championships, you know, it's going to be pretty tough for the others to actually keep up with 146 Team Fusion. But hey, I'll see you guys for the next Grand Prix with the highlights for GP2 and for F1 Championships for Banham Canyon Circuit, which is a really long track. So if you missed out the previous highlights for week 4, make sure you check it out. Hopefully you guys enjoying the series. If you guys are, appreciate if you guys left a like on this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. Shall you sign out? Good night, peace. Yeah.